Okay, real quick, what was one thing you noticed in all of those clips? Other than the admittedly horrible editing, I was using the Yank Grappler for most of them. I'll get to why, but that'll be later. You should also probably know the difference before you know how to get them, okay? First, I feel like I shouldn't have to clarify this, but they're both grapplers. I know, shocking. Alright, get the stats table up. Alright, those are the stats. But what's the point in knowing the stats of the grappler if you don't know how to get them? So let's talk about how to get them. Both the vendors sell parts that you'll need for the grapplers. I'll put B-rolls up at locations of the parts you can't buy from them on screen. I'll also list the locations and where you can find them relative to a few things, like checkpoints and races. Derek, who Julian refers you to just after being in the tutorial, is no ice spawn. He's quite close to the solo time trial, you can't miss him. With that said, Derek does have a few randomized positions. You can check the wiki if you don't know them. One of the nanotube cables is inside the Parkour Tech building on one of the office stalls. You have to go searching on the second floor if you can't find it. Petra is on top of the building just by the Parkour Tech building. I already have a guide on how to get to her though. Also, her stuff is quite expensive, so if you want to buy anything from her, you might want to save up for it. Another nanotube cable is just north of the building Petra is on, with the antenna on the top floor. It also has quite a few valuables. It's pretty hard to get to, and the route is pretty long, but I'm sure someone like you can make your way there, no problem. The magnetized alloy hook is on top of the stack of 3 pallets in Derwick construction. It's at the south side of Derwick, and it's a pretty long and difficult journey just for 2 parts. The micropulse driver is just by Derwick construction, a pretty tall building by the Sawdust time trial. You might just be going there for the part, but if you have a moment, you should admire the view from up there. The winch one is probably the hardest part to get, considering it's at the top of Artemis, which isn't an easy climb. With that said, you can just buy one from Petra for 21,000 credits. The static fuse cable is at the southernmost receiving fragment, which is pretty difficult to traverse. As long as you're careful and don't commit a jump that you probably can't make, you'll get it way faster. Pretty much what happens is while you're falling, you gain speed, but downwards. This is called velocity. When you shoot your grappler at, say, an overhang or a wall that you're close to, as you're pulled by the grappler, your velocity is redirected. This causes you to go flying forwards at insane speeds depending on how fast you were falling when you shot the grappler. This stuff does get pretty complicated if you dive into the specifics, and I'm not smart enough to explain that. Alright, now that you got the boring stuff out of the way, you can get to the fun part. So let's get to the But first, I want to shed some light on someone in the Parkour Reborn community who you might already know. That person being the one and only. I want to show you now that this guy's the pinnacle of Parkour Reborn. I mean, just take a look at the stuff this guy can pull off. He pulls off stuff I could only dream of doing. So if you have the time, check him out in the description below. On to Grappler Tech, because if you're going to use the grappler, I'm going to make you use it properly. Something inherently sucks about going slow, especially if you're playing this game. Instead of wasting your valuable time taking 4 extra seconds climbing a pipe, you can just use the grappler and skip them entirely. Do you struggle making split-second decisions to save yourself? Well, by grappling at the right place at the right time, you can just not take any fall damage. Gravity be damned. If you've watched anything else I make, you know that I don't really take this stuff seriously. So with that said, just have fun swinging around. Do stupid stuff, not like anyone's gonna stop you. What the fuck? Alright, looks like leaping off the top of Vertigo is gonna get me back, I guess. This isn't the first time I've jumped off the skyscraper, and it's probably not going to be the last. So here we go. Oh, it was a hell of a fall. One side. Oh, right. It's a wrist-mounted grappler, of course you can do cool stuff with it. Like, look at this thing we pulled off. If an idiot like me can pull off stuff like that, then I can't imagine what the true pinnacle of Grappler Tech is. That said, here's a montage of all the cool stuff I managed to do while I go over a few things like behind the scenes. If you're wondering why the videos seem very unorganized and strange, it's because I had absolutely no script, like every other video. Except for this one. I did a voiceover, which is kind of live because I made up some lines on the spot and just changed them later. If you're wondering why the voiceover sounds either very quiet or completely mute, it's because I got the voice clips in like this. Basically, what I did was I sent a voice note in Discord, recorded that voice note, sent that voice note to the editing software, which is why this took 2 weeks instead of the usual 1 week that most of my other videos have taken. Another thing I struggled with is music choice, considering that some of the music in this video is probably common. I went through loads of songs. I tried DRG songs, I tried Ultra Kill songs, hell, I even tried Elden Ring at one point. That was until I landed on Bonelab's music. It had the right mix of tense music like Back to the Lab, but it also had some very upbeat, happy music like Do Be Groovin. There was also the spectacular Spider-Man theme that I put in the intro because I was swinging around the city like a budget Spider-Man in a way. I'd argue that I should have put more effort into the bit where I missed the landing pad and ended up part of the legacy. I don't really remember why I did it. Originally, I just wanted to make this video much shorter, but I just kept thinking of things until I got to the part where I basically get Isekai'd into a different game. I'd say the bit that I had the most fun with is the very end of the Isekai'd section, where you leap off a vertigo with Fallen Kingdom in the background. Originally, I was going to talk about something along the lines of needing longer blonde hair, a crown, and a beard, which would make me look like the king from Fallen Kingdom. This was scrapped, mostly because I felt like stating it outright in the moment wouldn't really fit the vibe. With all that said, I thoroughly enjoyed making this, and despite how it came out, I still think the voiceover is good, as it makes my videos from a silent film to a non-silent film. With all that being said, thanks for watching, goodbye.